passageway, when we held our lectures, Ed and Lorraine held our lectures in the house, after the lectures, they would have their guests come through the passageway from the basement into the museum. So this leads right to the house. That room on the other side of that door is the Halloween room. That's where Ed would hold his lectures, back in the day. He would have like 10 people come to the house. He would have them come in the basement, talk about the paranormal. He would show a video of Maurice. If you heard about Maurice, the man that was possessed in Massachusetts, he would show that exorcism to them in this little 13-inch TV.
Jeez.
In that room over there.
Oh, look how much of good money.
I asked you to come inside and meet Mark Johnson, and I said, when you're doing your investigation, do not challenge that demonic. So, Arnie here, as you know, is from the Devil Made Me Do It case, the Brooklyn murder case. Arnie challenged the demonic, the devil, the beast. Arnie was trying to protect his family. He challenged the devil.
Annabelle is probably the most haunted object in the Warrens Occult Museum. That came straight from Ed's mouth because of the havoc that it caused with people.
In the name of Jesus Christ, Lord, protect us from any evil, inhuman, or demonic entities that may surround this or infuse in this doll. In the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. I'm going to open up the case. Read it quickly. I mean quick. Grab it and put it in. Wasn't up fast. Wasn't up. That's good, Dan. That's good. That's all right. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Dan? Let me see your hands again. Okay. So now she's transferred. One more time. Now she's transferred over.
Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for one of the Warren head investigators and the guy they make move Annabelle all over the freaking country. And he's helping me out right now, Mr. Dan Rivera.
Son-in-law of the Warrens, married to their daughter, Judy. This couple met in 1979 when Judy accidentally waved to him, thinking he was someone else. Became love at first sight, and the rest is history. Tony is now director of Nesper, as well as the owner and manager of the Warren Occult Museum. Since the 1980s, Tony had worked closely with the Warrens and continues their work to this day.
He went into the Navy on his 17th birthday. When he came home on survivor's leave, she got married on that leave with him because his ship had gone down and he was only one of like 69 survivors on that ship. Ed was passionate about helping people because Ed lived in a haunted house. He lived in a haunted house in Bridgeport, Connecticut from age 5 to age 12. So he said to me, when I got out of the Navy, I said, I'm going to find out if other people had the same experiences that I did when I lived in that house. They started a society, the New England Society for Psychic Research, in 1952. Back then there was no internet. There were no ghost hunters on TV, reality shows. There weren't a million demonologists. Back then, Ed was only one of 7 recognized demonologists, religious demonologists in the nation. He was the only lay demonologist. He was the only non-clergy.
Perhaps the most haunted area in the world. That's what I would say.
I would say that it is one of the most wanted areas because of the many things here, Tony, that come from all parts of the world. Europe, Asia, America, Canada, Mexico. This is a collection of items on the occult that have been used in diabolical experiences by many different types of people into black magic, wizardry, sorcery, and so forth.
You know, if you do it for the wrong reasons, it's always going to catch up, somehow or another. If you do it just for the excitement purpose, like to see something happen in a house without regard for helping the other people that are tormented, that's not helping other people. If you're doing it for the right reason, you're going to endure, and you're going to actually prevail. So I think that their legacy is to have a new generation of ghost hunters that can help others.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, the son-in-law of Ed and Lorraine Warren, and the man who's keeping all their work alive to this day, Mr. Anthony Spera!
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming tonight. You know, I see the crowd out here, and I'm thankful that you made it. You know, waiting in line for so long for me, and for all the events that are going to occur tonight. I have to start out with a serious question for all of you, because I know some of you. How many people here that were waiting in the line were like holding back stool while they were waiting? How many people? I know I was. But you know, I used to hate that, you wait in the line, you gotta go to the bathroom. But you know, for you guys to come out here and wait for us is an honor. And we're doing it because we want to honor Ed and Lorraine Warren for their many years. I worked with them for so many years and learned so much from Ed and from Lorraine that we have to continue the work. There are people that are so tormented by the paranormal realm, by the demonic entities, by witchcraft, by incantations that happen to them, by curses, which are very real, that we feel the need to continue on to do this, to give you a warning not to dabble in occult practices. Don't do that. It's one thing to go to a movie, read a book. Why is it back on me? I'm probably touching something. It's one thing to read a book, to go to see like the Conjuring movie, right? And oh, by the way, the Conjuring 4 is in the works. And I've been hounding New Line Cinema, every movie. Could I have a cameo? The first one, they gave me a cameo sitting next to Lorraine and promised me I would be in the movie. And the son of a guns, they cut me right out. They don't even show my shoulder. I was sitting right next to Lorraine. But then they said to me this last time, we have a terrific part that we think we're going to use you for a cameo. And I'll probably be like roaming through the garbage or something. But you know, on a serious note, and The Nun 2 is in filming right now in France. Yeah, like I asked James Wan, who is the big shot at doing these movies. He's the director and producer of all the movies. I said, James, can I get a cameo in The Nun 2? He writes me back, oh, well, no, well, they're filming in France. I was gonna say, well, I'll go to France. But I think they're gonna use me for Conjuring 4. And how many people here tonight saw 28 Days Haunted? How many? Well, you know what? We're hoping to get a second season, but the only way to get a second season, Dan, by the way, is consulting producer, and me. We're both consulting. He just didn't want to go on the camera for this time, and next time he will. But we have to continue watching the show. It's doing great for the first 2 weeks, but Netflix is funny. They're like, well, we want to see how it does in the long run. You know, if it drops off. If it drops off in viewership, then we're not going to have it. So, but we're number 8 in the world, which is pretty darn good, you know? You know, when you're good, right? But speaking of good, who is? They won't let me do it. I'm not good enough, I guess. See? Somebody else is going to introduce Arnie. Come on over here, Tom. Introduce,
We're gonna play the
introduce
clip.
our next guy. Oh, we got to play a clip.
We're gonna play the clip.
I'm here to tell our story. There's not one day in my life that goes by that I never think about it. It's always there, it scars you. I met Arnie when I was working down in Bridgeport. When Arnie and I rented a home for my brother David, he started getting physically attacked.
But where Arnie comes into play, Arnie witnessed what they assumed was a demonic possession with David.
David was suffering so bad, and we're all right there with him. Arnie couldn't take it anymore because he was trying to help my brother. Leave him alone!
But he made a fatal mistake. One night he said, and he screamed at these devils, "Take me on. Leave my little buddy alone."
He
Well, he got his wish.
He challenged the.
He challenged the demonic.
Never challenge it, because you bring something onto you that doesn't come right away, it just comes in very slowly, and it's very damaging.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, let's welcome the man The Conjuring 3 was based off of, Mr. Arnie Johnson. Come on, make some noise!
All right, Arnie, come on, sit over here with me. Hey, Arnie, I think you might have got almost a better applause than me, so I'm pissed. Come on, shut up. Arnie, we're gonna have a Q&A. So what we want to do is, well, first of all, I want to straighten one thing out. Remember it said Tony met, the overnight guys, Tony met Judy in 1979. Remember you said that? Yeah, well, I was an embryo when I met her, okay? I wasn't that old, okay? So, Arnie, we're going to take some photos. We're going to take some Q&A. So who wants to ask Arnie a question? Tom's going to run through, Phil Donahue, and ask people.
I don't know if anybody remembers.
They can ask Arnie, or Dan, or me, or about any subject, or anything you want to do.
All right, everybody's seen The Conjuring 3, so Arnie never had his chance to tell his side of the story, even when they were in the book. That's why we have Arnie here, where he could share his side and tell you his experience, what he had in the house, what he went through. So, any questions, please raise your hands, because this is the only opportunity that you're going to get to do this.
All right, sit down, sir.
right here.
I want to hear from you.
Okay, here we go. First one's always the hardest. Here we go.
My question's actually for you, Tony.
Yes.
For those who don't know, Tony actually did a movie that I produced. It's a short mob movie called The Jackpot Hit. Watch it on YouTube. Tony did a phenomenal job. Tony, let me ask you something.
Yes.
Are we ready to do another movie?
Well, I'm very interested in doing another mob movie, because the first one, The Jackpot Hit, was a mob movie, and I played a mob boss, which I liked. And this movie, though, the one you were saying, asking me a little bit about, I want to do it. But, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be the mob boss. He wants to kill me in the movie. And I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, I should be slapping you around. But you know the thing is, he's producing it, so I think, yeah, I want to do another mob movie. Yes, please.
Then we'll do it.
It's going to give you a little great.
Anybody else? Okay, we're going to the cheap seats in the back. There we go.
So, hold on.
There we go. There we go.
My question is for Arnie. Do you have any recollection of what was happening when you were possessed?
Actually, no. I didn't have any reaction. I didn't know I was doing anything. I was pushed out of the picture. I could give you, for instance, when I went to the well and I saw to see where these demons were coming from all the time. I was out in the woods. As this black entity came up and I was looking into the eyes were drawing me in like I was going into a different realm. So I was drawing right in. The next thing I know, Debbie was slapping me in the face saying I was possessed, and she was the only one in the house when I came to, and I said, what's going on? So right then and there, from that period, I didn't know where I was or where that span of time went until she took me out of the possession, and I was inside the house.
There you go, we have another question.
Are you still married to the woman you married in jail?
Yes, I am. She had passed 2 years ago.
Debbie Johnson, Debbie Galasso back then, and now she's stuck with Arnie through thick and thin, and he stuck with her to the very end when she was sick.
We were together for 40 years.
Like I try to tell everybody, I was with my wife. I've been married to my wife for 36 years, 15 bliss-filled years. Any other questions?
I have a question. This question is for Mr. Johnson. Are you still feeling or seeing anything from this demon? Is it still following you at all?
I mean, I don't think it's this particular demon. There's sometimes I have sleep paralyzation happen once in a while, but I know how to protect myself. I feel very confident I can protect myself, so I'm not worried about anything at all.
And the way to protect yourself, ladies and gentlemen, whenever you go into a haunted location, you feel threatened in any way, you should always envision yourself in a glowing white light around your body, really. That's your aura of protection, because everyone here tonight is generating an aura. You know, God, everything that's alive today, including animals, pets, trees, that's alive, has an aura. So you all have auras, all different from one another, just like a fingerprint. But the demonic, the devils, the things that try to attack Arnie, they look for a weak spot in your aura. And you wouldn't know if you had a weak spot, would you? I mean, you can't even see your aura. But you were born with a perfect aura, but through life, through things that happen, your aura degrades. Could be a lot of things that cause it. It could be a mental illness. It could be heavy drug use, alcohol use, maybe distancing yourself from God, from praying and believing in God. Somehow you have a weak spot. Your suit of armor going into a haunted location or something happening, and this goes for investigators too, especially, is you envision yourself by closing your eyes in that white light. And you ask God to protect you from anything evil or demonic or inhuman. And that's what Ed used to do, that's what Ed taught me to do, that's what Lorraine used to do. And they made it through for 50 years, even though were subject to attack, it never harmed them very badly because of that protection from the Lord. You know, the devil is out to get you, really. The devil is out to destroy the world. Because the devil's main goal is to not allow you to get to heaven. Because the devil can never get there. And the devil's jealous. And the devil's a classic liar, the father of lies. So you have to have something on your side. Now, what's on your side? The Lord, God, is your protection whenever you go into a home. Now you can use all the equipment, all the meters you want to find paranormal activity, but if something's trying to attack you, you need to protect yourself. You're not a cop, you don't have a bulletproof vest on, you don't have a gun. Your armor of protection is the white light. If I don't tell you anything else tonight, the white light around your body, you envision it, you ask God to protect you.
Any other questions, Donnie?
We have a question over here.
This is for Arnie. Do you remember anything about your exorcism or even any of the physical feelings after it?
Actually, I never had an exorcism. I've, as Tony said, I protect myself with the white light, I say prayers, and I'm very confident in my faith in the Lord, and I feel I'm not in threat at all.
You got to understand, after, you know, the murder and everything, Arnie was in jail for 5 years. And there were certain things that he had to deal with while he was in jail. And I don't know, Arnie, if you want to talk about what happened to you in jail and what the other inmates witnessed.
So the first time I went to prison, when I went to my cell, I was put in a cell and there was a little tin ashtray on top of a metal desk. That ashtray slid across the table and a voice came out and said, "You lose." meaning that he's destroyed my life. There was another incident where inmates had saw me levitating around in my cell, which I had no memory of that. So there's been an instance like that, and so that's how I have to work and to protect myself.
Okay, all right, right up here. There we go.
I just had a question. Did you ever have like any doubt, like when you initially were gonna say, okay, I'm gonna take this on, like was there ever a part of you that was like, okay, I can't do this, but you did it?
When I challenged him, it was because out of love for David and trying to protect him from what he was going through. It was so dramatic, and I felt so bad for him, and there was like nothing I could do. I remember this one time when David was telling me, Shy, because he used to call me Shy, and he said, Shy, he's gonna hit you, he's gonna hit you. I turned around and swung, and my hand went through this ice feeling. And as I did that, David jumped up and he said to me, Arnie, you actually hit him, knocked him down. And he ran over and gave me such a big hug and said, I know, I feel so great that you're here protecting me. Thank you. And when I challenged those demons, I did it out of love for him to help protect him. I didn't hesitate. I didn't think about not doing it, which was a mistake doing it. No good came from it.
Okay, we have a question over here. Excuse me.
So you said you didn't have an exorcism. So at what point did you realize that you were no longer being followed or affected?
Being possessed is not a 24/7 thing. So it's in and out, right, Tony?
No one's possessed 24/7.
Right. So at a certain point, I never had that feeling or not feeling. I never was approached by anything that I knew of. Like when I was floating around the cell, I didn't know that happened. It just happened. But basically, other than that, I have everything under control, and I'm not fearful of it at all.
All right, we have another question right here.
This is for you, Arnie. How did you immediately feel after you said I think your girlfriend was slapped you in the face, like waking you up, like you know how you can feel like dehydrated or like the possession was gone? Like how did you feel? Like drained, tired, confused, or like confusion? Like how did you?
After that experience, when she slapped me and I came to, I was totally exhausted. Another example I can give you is when the actual crime, murder happened, is when we bought pizza. We went up to the apartment of Alan, the owner, who was managing the place. We had our pizza, he had a little too much to drink, so I said to my wife, I said, let's go. Let's leave. Alan's had a little too much. As I was walking down the stairs, I took 2 steps. The next thing I remember is waking up in a cell, being charged with murder. I had a well across my chest, down across my abdomen that was ½ an inch raised high, which disappeared in an hour. I was so exhausted, I could not move, I could not lift up. I was just totally dead to the world, basically.
All right, we have a question back here.
First of all, my heart goes out to you that you even experienced all of this. If there was anything that you could say after going through this to somebody who might want to that might be approached by something that they don't want to be approached by, like when you say protect yourself, what is the best way if it's coming to them to protect themselves in the moment without having the wherewithal before?
Do you want me to give a good explanation for that, Tony?
Yeah, well, it's almost like what I said about the white light of protection. Your faith is always protection. You know, you can't fight it physically. You're not as powerful as any devil or any demon. You're not as intelligent as any devil or demon. You know, they have the wisdom of the ages behind them. So when you're up against something that's evil or demonic, it's out to get you. Your only defense, you can't pick up a gun and shoot at it, right? You can't, use taekwondo on it, right? What you could do is pray to the Lord for his protection. And like I said, envision yourself in the white light. If you feel like you're going down that dark path, down that dark pathway emotionally, and a lot of the times you'll get down that dark path by being depressed, by being negative, a negative person, always thinking, oh, life's against me, something bad's always happening to me, how come I have such bad luck? You're going to draw the bad luck to you. The demonic loves people like that, because you know why? They can see the weakness in you. They can see the weakness in your aura. Now, if you're walking down the street, and there's Mike Tyson walking down the street, and on the other side of the street is an old lady with a little handbag, she's 85 years old, and there's two thugs, they want to attack somebody and get some money. Are they going to go for Mike, or are they going to go for the old lady? Once you're weak, they can smell it. The demonic knows it. And if you don't have that faith in God, that also makes you vulnerable and weak. So just do what I told you, and you're going to be all right.
All right, we have a question.
My question is for Tony. I was wondering if you guys would ever open another museum for the objects and artifacts.
Well, I thought you were going to ask me why I look so much like George Clooney.
I think everybody's waiting for you to answer this.
Look at the jeans. But no, I don't know if we're going to open another one because it's too expensive for us to find a locale that's not on the property. You know, I was opening a museum for small groups of folks on the property. I wasn't paying any rent. We owned the property, right? And Lorraine owned it. Now we own it. So when somebody came in and gave me $20 to tour the museum, I put $20 in my pocket and I gave them a tour, maybe an hour, hour and a half. But now, if I rented a place for $3,000, $4,000 a month to get the right place, and electricity, insurance, and everything else, and having it manned, you have to pray that you're going to get enough people just to make the rent. So it may not even be appropriate for me to, or financially wise to do that. So the answer is, I don't think so.
All right, we have a question over here.
Yeah, this one's for Arnie. What sort of relationship do you have with David today?
David, we don't talk too much. He's pretty busy in his own life, doing his own thing. He has a little small construction business, and he seems to be doing well. We stay in touch once in a blue moon, and he seems to be doing fine.
All right.
For the more skeptical individual, you describe something like pernicious aspects of the very beginnings of what you might call possession. The more subtle aspects, the creeping, the persuading toward a certain dark path as it's been described. How would you describe that?
Well, there's stages that take place, 5 stages, I believe. Isn't that correct, Tony? You know, acceptance, you allow it to come in, you do something that's going to allow it to come in. Then there's infestation that happens where they try to infestate the house and take control. Then there's oppression. Oppression is when they're trying to break up the individual so they can possess. Then you have possession, where they actually invade the body and take over. And then there's death. Those are the 5 stages. And that's how it works.
And some of the times when you could have multiple friends and you start pushing your friends away, you stop talking, you could lock yourself in the room, don't leave your room, and then the depression starts setting in. And that's when you're leaving yourself open for a possession because now you're vulnerable. So those are the things to look for, you know, are stages of depression, the beginnings of it, and leaving yourself open.
All right, we have a question over here.
Hi, this question is for Tony. Question for you. How come it seems like most of the exorcisms that are being done are mostly on Catholics? Do you get anything for Methodist, Baptist, non-denominational? I'm just curious how that works.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's not only Catholics. The only reason we talk about Catholicism and exorcism in the Catholic faith is because that's our faith. All 3 of us up on the stage tonight, and Lorraine and Ed were Catholic, so they would normally, even if the person was like non-denominational, or if they didn't go to church much, Ed would try to get a priest, because that's who he was familiar with. And you know, the priest and Catholicism has a very
deep history of the rite of exorcism, you know, the ritual Romanum. So we call them Catholics, but there are rites and there are exorcisms done in other faiths too. And a lot of times we would call in people or clergy from another faith to assist us in that. And I might add also that, you know, the chance of you being possessed by a demonic entity, you have a better chance of walking into the gambling casino and pulling a slot one time and getting a couple $1 million. That's about the odds of you getting struck by lightning twice in one day. It's very, very rare. Ed investigated the paranormal realm for over 50 years before he collapsed. For over 50 years, thousands of cases, and he was involved in about 70 exorcisms. So that shows you how rare it is, over thousands and thousands of cases. So it's not something that happens overnight. You're not going to go home and get depressed a little bit and all of a sudden become possessed. That doesn't happen that way. It's people who open themselves up to various nefarious means, which might be dabbling in occult practices, using a Ouija board, going to a psychic, a card reader, not protecting yourself, or the psychic who you go to doesn't protect themselves properly, and they let in some spirit that's not a good spirit. That's how that happens a lot of times. Or you could be a soul victim. Like Arnie's what we would call a soul victim. He challenged something that wasn't the target of Arnie. It didn't target Arnie initially, but by challenging it and saying, "You come to me, don't bother him, he's just a kid," he became the victim. Okay, so, or you could be just someone trying to help. You know, say you're walking down the street, right, and you're with your friend, and two muggers come up and they start hitting your friend over the head. You go to assist your friend, right? And they start beating you up. You weren't the target, but now you are. And that's the exact same thing in the paranormal, in the demonic realm.
All right, we have a question over here.
My question is for Arnie. What was it like being in the room while David was getting the exorcism performed on him? What was it like being in the room before you decided to challenge the beast?
Actually, it was a very frightening thing. You had to keep that fright hidden. It was very violent. It was like you were in a war. You're trying to hold this person down during an exorcism. And one of the cases, it was in the church, and the pews are, hymn books are flying around, the pews are slapping up and down. He's breaking away, trying to attack the priests, the poundings, and it's just like you're in a war. The lights are fluttering off and on, the priest is doing his thing, we're all fighting to grab it, and it's like, you can't really imagine how it is. It's like a battle zone.
All right, we have a question back here.
So I just have a question regarding like somebody that believes in this stuff but is an atheist. And you mentioned, you know, having faith in the Lord, but also that people that don't believe in God are more open to being possessed so that they don't get into heaven. But if they're an atheist and they don't have that, what are your thoughts on that?
You know, I used to always say to me, he goes, "I never met an atheist in a haunted house." And why? Because people quickly turn to God. Just like guys on the battlefield who never used to pray to God, and then God saved me, God saved me, because they finally realize that there is a God. But I said, it's the demonic will target those people. It's not always happening to atheists a lot, but it can happen. It's going to happen to anybody. It can happen to a priest. He can get possessed.